There's a very specific silence that happens the moment the power goes out. Every hum you'd stop noticing stops at once. The fridge, the router, the clock on the microwave. And in that silence, your house becomes a different place. You know its layout by memory instead of sight. Every sound you'd normally ignore becomes the only information you have. The three people in tonight's stories were all in the dark when something happened that made them wish the lights had stayed off just a little longer. Story number 1. The doorbell that shouldn't have worked. We lost power during a bad storm a few winters ago. The kind that knocks out entire neighborhoods for a full day or more. I live alone. I'd lit some candles, found a flashlight, and settled in to wait it out. The way you do when a blackout is mostly just an inconvenience. About 2 hours in, I heard my doorbell ring, which struck me immediately as strange, because our doorbell was hardwired, not battery-powered. No electricity should have meant no doorbell. I went to the door anyway, flashlight in hand, and looked through the peephole. No one there. I opened the door a few inches, chain still on, and looked out at the dark street. Empty. No footprints in the light dusting of snow on my porch, which, I noted, even in the moment, should have shown if anyone had actually been standing there to press a doorbell that shouldn't have worked in the first place. I closed the door, locked it again, and went back to my candle and my book. About 20 minutes later, it rang again. Same process. Peephole, empty street. Door open a crack. Chain on. Nothing there. No fresh footprints in the snow. This happened 4 more times over the course of that outage. Roughly every 20 to 30 minutes for the better part of 3 hours. I called my neighbor on my cell, which still had signal, and asked if anyone was messing around outside. Kids maybe, using the blackout as an excuse to prank people. She said her power was out too, obviously, and that she hadn't seen anyone on the street all evening. The power came back around midnight. The doorbell stopped ringing the exact moment the lights came back on. It has never rung on its own since. In the several years I've lived there, I had an electrician check the wiring not long after, just to put my mind at ease. He found nothing wrong with it. He also confirmed, without me even needing to ask, that there was no way for that doorbell to function without power. Story number 2. Security office. When everything went dark, and I sat there for a solid minute, waiting for the emergency lights to activate. before accepting that they weren't going to. At least not immediately. I had a flashlight in my kit, standard equipment, and I used it to check the panel for the generator, which showed a fault code I didn't recognize. I called it in to the building's facilities contact, who said someone would be dispatched. But it might take a while, given how many buildings in the area were dealing with the same outage. I decided to do a walkthrough, partly out of habit, partly because sitting in the dark, waiting, felt worse than moving. The building was 14 floors. I was the only person in it. That night, on the 7th floor, my flashlight beam caught something in the reflection of a dark office window. As I passed it, a shape behind me in the hallway I just walked through. I turned around. Empty hallway. I told myself it was my own reflection, somehow duplicated or distorted by the angle of the glass and the darkness, and kept moving. It happened again. On the 9th floor. Same thing. A shape in a window's reflection, positioned behind and slightly to the side of me. Gone. The instant I turned to look, directly by the 11th floor, I'd stopped checking the reflections at all. I just kept my flashlight forward and finished the walk through faster than I probably needed to. The power and the generator both came back around 40 minutes after the outage began. When I reviewed the building's battery-backed hallway cameras the next day, the few that had their own independent power source and kept recording through the blackout, I found footage from the 9th floor camera, time-stamped to almost exactly the moment I remembered seeing the reflection. The footage was grainy, night vision quality, but it clearly showed me walking through frame with my flashlight, and for about a second and a half, just behind me, at the very edge of the frame, something that was not my own shadow moved in the opposite direction I was walking. Story number 3. The Man in the Mirror. This happened when I was 14, during a summer storm that knocked our power out for most of an evening. I was home with my younger brother, who was 9 at the time, while our parents were out at a work event. They couldn't leave early. We'd done the responsible things. Flashlights ready, candles lit in the kitchen, doors locked. About an hour into the outage, my brother said he needed to use the bathroom, which was down the hallway from where we were sitting in the living room. He took a flashlight and went. I heard the door close. A few minutes later, I heard him talking. Not to me. The specific rhythm of a conversation. Pauses. In the right places. Coming from behind the bathroom door. I called out, asking who he was talking to. He said, completely casually, the man in the mirror. I told him that wasn't funny, and to hurry up. He said he wasn't joking, and that the man said hello and asked if I wanted to come say hi too. I got up and walked to the bathroom door. I want to be clear that I did not, at 14 years old, believe there was actually a man in our bathroom mirror. I opened the door, mostly to prove that to him and to myself. My brother was standing in front of the mirror, flashlight pointed up at his own face from below, the way kids do, to look spooky. He looked completely normal, a little pale from the flashlight angle. Nothing else. On my way out the door. Not before a doorbell that rang with no power to ring it. A reflection that moved in the opposite direction of the person casting it. A man in a mirror who said hello to a 9-year-old in the dark. Power outages strip away the small conveniences we don't even notice. We rely on light, sound, the comfortable hum of a house that's fully alive. Maybe that's all it takes for something else to be noticed instead. Thank you for listening. If something happened to you during a blackout you've never explained, for news stories every day, subscribe to Hollow Veins. And the next time the power goes out in your house, maybe don't answer the door, just to be safe.